Hi, my name is Valeria Peña, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we have learned during this term in this class. So let me just present my portfolio. So basically, what we're going to talk about a little bit here during this presentation is going to be about globalization, how English spread, internationalization of education and cultural and language policies, and social cultural movements and education. So to give a little bit of like an introduction, as I said, we're going to present a comparative analysis of learning progression developed during the term, focusing on the globalization and how it can change the education and different social movements. First of all, let's start with globalization and how actually English spread like all over the world. So since the success of the United States at as part of the Allied powers of World War II, English has become the language that basically most of the countries have accepted and have actually opted to use whenever they want to make any international trades or whenever they need to communicate with other countries, basically because it has been like the easier way for everybody to be communicated nowadays. So this actually happened because of the very strong development of the United States, especially financially. So they made a huge progress in their economic system, and this actually made other countries to like ask them for help, especially in economic ways. So basically, what maybe in a very subtle way, what the United States was asking is for them to use English, especially whenever they were making any other trades with any other countries all around the world. So basically, they were in a lot of debt with the United States, and by then they started to acquire that culture and therefore the usage of the English language. David Crystal is one of the linguistics that has talked about how the English has spread, and he says that it's begun since the colonialism, but actually it got a very much strength when World War II ended. However, this dominance of the English language may be changing nowadays, maybe giving it a shift nowadays with the global influence of China, since we know they are being even more relevant, and maybe nowadays we're going to be needing to learn Chinese and leaving behind English. So here is a video that talks a little bit about how English took over the world. It's a very short, like 2 or 3 minutes video that shows this, and it's very interesting because it gives a little bit of more context about how this happened very rapidly. Next, we're going to look at the internationalization of education, culture, and language policies. So basically, culturally, internationalization reshapes identity and knowledge worldwide. UNESCO, which is a very big organization, wants and make sure that everybody understands that we need to protect linguistic diversity through intercultural bilingual education, but making sure that our language, our mother language, is being preserved. Of course, we want multilingualism, and of course, we want inclusivity and diversity all around the world, but making sure that we are very protective on our language, especially in countries like Colombia, in which we have a very rich and very wide spectrum of indigenous languages, which we need to protect above giving them English or even Spanish or any other language that is not theirs. In language policies, the internalization of education integrates global perspectives into teaching and research, often through English medium instructions. While EMI promotes global communication, it can marginalize local languages and cultures. Balanced policies should support both global engagement and linguistic diversity. As I was saying, of course, we want that cultural exchange. Of course, we want to make sure that everybody is understood in the same environment and in the same room, basically. But what we want, what we need to aim for, of course, us, even as English teachers, is to make sure that everybody understands that, of course, you can have a second language, of course, even a third, a fourth. That opens a lot of doors in the world. But make sure that you are proud of your language and make sure that you protect your language and the languages that are in your country all around, um, making sure that you are protective of that. Here are two videos of how education and internalization and which are like actually the benefits of this, since I talked a little bit about how we can be a little bit more protective on that. Next is the social cultural movements in education. So the social and cultural movements influence educational systems and teaching practices worldwide. These movements, such as feminism, civil rights, indigenous rights, and multiculturalism, seek to make education more inclusive, equitable, and culturally responsive. Education has begun to integrate diverse perspectives into curricula, promote critical thinking about social justice, and encourage schools to become spaces where cultural differences are recognized as strengths rather than barriers. What actually education wants is to make sure that you see through the eyes of other people, but making sure that you are seeing through your own eyes, making sure to understand others' perspectives and making sure to learn their perspectives within a respectable boundary, making sure that you are, of course, understanding the spaces of cultural differences and recognizing the cultures of others instead of just judging and just giving a very short view of what actually other countries have to offer us, but making sure that you tell your own story and it's in a very respectable way. Here are two very important, and I think it's very cool videos of how social movements and education actually work together in order to make sure that citizens are actually very integral people. Okay, so what I actually I thought I knew is that globalization was only about countries exchange, global trades, international trades, and how actually trends and brands make sure to get to other people, get to other countries, and like get deep in like other cultures in a more like economic way and not in a cultural way. But what I learned this term is it was actually a globalization transcends cultural boundaries and national frontiers, deeply influencing cultural dynamics themselves. In this context, globalization and internationalization transform seemingly simple phenomena, such as TikTok trend, like a TikTok trend, like the clean girl look, this has become into a global fashion movement and a collective way of thinking. It has even shaped an entire generation, particularly when such trends emerge from developed nations. That will be it. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, let me know.